Good morning, everyone. If Mike is going to be busy talking on the phone, I get the last of the coffee. So, he snoozes, he loses, right? Hope everyone is having a good week. Have to excuse me, I'm a little tired and a little bit loopy. I had a medical procedure yesterday and I had to fast and be put under, so kind of a little bit fuzzy this morning and tired. So, anyway, thank you for joining me. Yes, it is that time of month again. And I've got 3 elders letters and a letter to the pioneers and some information regarding Japan. Now remember, we did a video about a month ago about Japan government going after Watchtower. Well, we have an update. So I want to thank Mr. Tanaka very much for the update on that and the link to the English article. And I will put the links down below to all of this. So, I missed coffee the past couple of days. All right, March 2023, announcements and reminders for elders. A new responsibility called Congregation Person Records has been added to the responsibility section of the Congregation Information feature on JW Hub. Yep, you elders have more responsibilities now. Just what you need, right? This responsibility may be assigned to elders approved by the body of elders to assist the coordinator of the body of elders or the secretary. See the Shepherd the Flock book, chapter 3, paragraph 1, chapter 4, paragraph 1. Only the coordinator of the body of elders, the secretary, and the elders assigned the congregation person records responsibility will be able to view, add, edit, or transfer a congregation person record. Notice how they're trying to get more control over their records? I wonder why. Makes you wonder. Maybe there's stuff in there that somebody's leaking out. Makes you wonder. Additionally, effective immediately, only the coordinator of the body of the elders and the secretary will be able to edit the responsibility section of the congregation information feature. These adjustments will be reflected in the next revision of instructions for congregation use of JW Hub. JW.org and JW Hub login. The design of the login page for JW.org and JW Hub has been updated. Additionally, the process of creating a new account has been simplified, and the security for JW.org accounts has been enhanced. Public Talks number 112 and 131. Their Circuit Overseers Public Talks for the 2024 service year will be revised versions of the current Public Talks. How to express love in a lawless world, and is there really a devil? Therefore, Public Talk number 112 should not be given after June 1st, 2023, and Public Talk number 131 should not be given after September 1st, 2023. Revised. I wonder why they have to revise it. New light. New light. Okay, for Congregation Service Committees, Pioneer Hour Credit. Effective March 1st, which was 2 days ago, regular pioneers authorized to participate in approved theocratic assignments will be given hour credit to the extent that the total number of hours actually spent in field service plus time credit for approved assignments in a month does not exceed 55 hours. The next revision of the Shepherd book will contain this adjustment, which should be in May. That's when we're getting the new Shepherd book. The next revision of the Shepherd book will contain this adjustment. Please ensure that all regular pioneers in the congregation are informed of this adjustment and provided with the revised version of instructions for new regular pioneers, which will soon be made available in the Forms section of the Documents tab on JW Hub. Now, I have the letter that they sent to the regular pioneers, and I will go through that after I do the elders' letters. You know, volunteering slave. Okay, for coordinators of bodies of elders, announcement for congregations. Please ensure that the announcements for congregations are read at the next midweek meeting and thereafter posted on the information board for at least 1 month. Okay, and then they're repeating about the public talks that I read earlier for the elders. There's going to be a special morning worship on Day of Memorial. Please arrange for the Watchtower Study conductor to remind the congregation at the conclusion of the Watchtower Study during the week of March 27th to view the 26-minute special morning worship program, the Day of the Memorial. For Life and Ministry Meeting Overseers, Convention Reminders, Campaign and Review. There's going to be a part in the midweek meeting, attending the convention, review of the convention to be conducted during a midweek meeting as soon as practical. Following the convention, arrange for one or more scheduled parts to be abbreviated as needed. Midweek meeting part on 2023 update on the local design construction program. Yeah, gotta be gung-ho and after the real estate empire. For service overseers, literature inventory. All language coordinating congregations should submit their inventory quantities using JW Hub no later than Monday, March 20th, 2023. Please follow the instructions on the latest monthly movement of literature. Review of recurring request. Please review the congregation's recurring request for the study edition of the Watchtower and for the Life and Ministry Meeting Workbook to ensure that the quantities closely match the needs of the congregation. Meaning, don't order more than what you need because it costs them money. For congregations, special morning worship on Day of Memorial. On Tuesday, April 4th, 2023. After sundown, we will obey Jesus' command to keep observing the memorial of his death. In connection with that special day, we will have the opportunity to enjoy a discussion of the text by a member of the governing body. Well, we know it won't be Aunt Mo. Okay, Teaching Toolbox adjustments. We are pleased to announce that the Teaching Toolbox section of JW Library will soon include the brochures Was Life Created and the Origin of Life. They are also going to simplify this section of JW Library. The tracks will be removed, but they're still effective and you can use them out in the door-to-door field ministry. Okay, so I have the letter instructions for regular pioneers. We warmly welcome you to the regular pioneer ranks and blah, blah, blah. You know, service to Jehovah, take us seriously, you know all this. But I'm going to go about a third of the way down. And if anybody wants any of these, you can just email me at kimmyMbrooks@gmail.com and I will be happy to share them. Just put Elders Letters in the subject line. And I'm almost done with January's emails, so appreciate everybody's patience. Okay, so back to this. I know, I'm getting distracted. You have counted the cost, as it were, and you want to let your word yes mean yes. So give your ministry priority, and as far as it depends on you, do not let non-essentials interfere with the time you have set aside for participating in the preaching work. And I want to cover a little bit of Let's Talk on materialism here in a few minutes. Deep concern for people will also strengthen your resolve to succeed as a pioneer. Jesus was not self-sparing. His love for people moved him to expend himself for them. Satan has blinded the minds of the vast majority of people. No, he hasn't. But you know that among the masses there are sincere ones that long to gain the freedom offered by the truth. There is no freedom in your truth, Watchtower. You like to control people and their lives and make them slave for your real estate empire. There is no freedom in your truth. You have no truth. The pioneer ministry to which you've been appointed affords you greater opportunity to open their eyes, to turn them from darkness to light and from the authority of Satan to God. See how they stroke the ego? Oh, look, you're a regular pioneer. You're better than everybody else. You're more enlightened than everybody else. Oh, I just get so sick of that. Yeah. All the rest of you rank and file, you know, you're basically troglodytes, while the pioneers and circuit overseers, they're up here. Ugh. As a pioneer, you will enjoy the pioneer meetings with the circuit overseer, the annual meeting with elders in your congregation, the special meeting held with pioneers in conjunction with the circuit assembly, and the pioneer service school. If a pioneer is younger than 18 years of age on the first day of class, he may attend pioneer school only if his pioneer parent or legal guardian qualifies to attend the same class. So the kids who pioneer, they're not even going to get to go to pioneer school if they're under 18 unless one of their parents is a pioneer and qualifies to go to class with them. Well, why even bother then? He also helps us to bear burdens that are the result of human weaknesses and circumstances beyond our control. View such challenges as opportunities to demonstrate your faith and confidence in God's ability to provide what is needed. Well, unfortunately, this sounds good in theory, but it doesn't work. I know of many pioneers, regular pioneers, including our family, where Mike and Shyla had to come off the pioneer list because we just couldn't afford it anymore. Too many financial hardships, and especially now in today's economy. And I'm going to be going through some of that with Let's Talk on Materialism here in a few minutes. Okay? Now, remember the Elders' Letter said that they could add credit to their time for certain theocratic volunteer or assignments, however it worded it. Okay? Now we're going to get more details on that, because a lot don't know what pioneers can do and what they can count as hours. I know when Cottonwood was remodeling their Kingdom Hall, Mike was able to deduct a lot of hours off of his pioneer time for helping them with the Kingdom Hall. That goes along with it. Okay. As a regular pioneer, you may be invited to share in certain theocratic assignments as part of your sacred service. Your spirituality, availability, and willing spirit may allow you to support kingdom interests in a special way. And of course, pioneers always clamor to get this special assignment because they're not out knocking on doors in the middle of summer. They get to do something else. Such approved assignments include participating in theocratic construction projects, pre- and post-assembly or convention work, disaster relief, hospital liaison committee, or patient visitation group work, work at assembly halls and congregation meetings held in prisons. Approved assignments also include serving as temporary volunteers at Bethel, communer Bethelites, remote volunteers, Bethel consultants, local design construction department field representatives and maintenance trainers, and so forth. If you are authorized to assist with one of these theocratic assignments, you should keep a record of all the hours spent on the assignment, working on the assignment during the month. You should report this activity to the congregation in the comments section of your field service report. The hours spent working on an approved assignment should not be combined with the hours spent in field service. Although your theocratic assignment is part of your sacred service, some time should be spent in the ministry each month. So that means you can't count all of your time in these assignments. You still have to knock on a few doors. If authorized, you will be given credit to the extent that the total number of hours that you actually spend in field service plus time credit for approved assignments in a month does not exceed 55 hours. No credit will be carried over to any other month. The credit received for attendance at a theocratic school or class is in addition to any time spent in the field ministry that month. To any credit received for approved theocratic assignments. If a theocratic school or class spans more than 1 month, you will be allowed to determine how much of the allotted hour credit will be applied to each month. Oy vey. Now, I've got a clip here from Let's Materialistic morning worship that he did. And so let's watch that clip.
Now, if we think about Jesus' words in today's text, give us today our bread for this day, there's really indirect counsel against materialism. See, Jesus didn't say to pray for our daily meat or some other luxury food item. He didn't even say that we should pray for a month's supply of bread. Pray for and be content with our bread for the day. But as we know, a sizable number of Jehovah's people today are being distracted by materialism. So since this is not an imagined, but it's a real danger to Jehovah's people, let's discuss the theme beware of the power of materialism. I recall the story of a sister and her two sons who were exiled to Siberia. Now, they were very poor. In fact, they were so poor, at times they had to literally eat the bark off trees to survive. But they were happy because they were all in the truth. But years passed, and the three of them had opportunity to immigrate to the United States. The two sons got excellent jobs, high-paying jobs as machinists, but in their material prosperity, both sons fell out of the truth. The sister tearfully remarked, "I would rather be back in Siberia, eating the bark off trees to survive, but with my two sons still in the truth." Well, numerous other experiences could be related that illustrate the power of materialism. In fact, it may well be that Satan's most effective trap against Jehovah's people in these last days is materialism.
Oh my goodness, there's so much in this little clip. It just shows how out of touch with reality these governing body members are. Now think about it. They don't have to go out and work for a living. And I mean, we all know they all have bling. You know, even Stephen Lett in this morning worship, he's wearing, wedding ring, you expect it, but he's got a gold ring on his pinky. So, they're just so out of touch. And really, these people that want to better themselves and get better jobs, you're calling them materialistic and saying how sad? Oh my God. And we know, being a JW my entire life, this is what they teach you. They frown on higher education because all those years you spend in college can be put into Jehovah's service, putting Jehovah first and being a regular pioneer. But they are so out of touch and so delusional. They have no idea what it's like to go into a grocery store who have empty shelves and try to find what you're looking for. I mean, my goodness, it's been kind of difficult finding dog food, the kind that I used to get for my dogs for the past couple of years. And I mean, just basic necessities. You go and the soup aisle, like in this picture, is just totally empty. And look at how long the shelves of toilet paper and paper towel were empty. And we're still having shortages. So, I mean, this is just totally out of touch. These guys are. And then he mentions that the sister would rather go back to Siberia and eat bark off of trees. Really? This shows the mental health issue that most Jehovah's Witnesses have. And I'm not talking about the PMOs, because they're awake. I'm talking about the indoctrinated Jehovah's Witness. Probably the same ones that have been saying that we're all lying, Anthony Morris was not removed, and that this is apostate lies, and Watchtower finally fixed their website. And it's like, but just go to the list of governing body members. So anyway, it's just sad, especially coming from these governing body members who have money. And especially from Lett. I mean, this is real rich, Lett. You're a hypocrite. Now, I'm going to use a clip here from the YouTube channel, The Blue Envelope. Thank you very much. He has done 3 videos about Lett and his family and his finances. I'm going to put the link down below so that you can go look at the information, because he has a lot of information about Lett, his life story, his family, and all of that. And so I'll put the link down below, and I would suggest going and watching it because it's interesting. He even has some clips that were in the news on his little brother Tim Lett. And I also want to mention that Stephen Lett, Stephen is actually his middle name. His legal name is Mark Stephen Lett. And we knew that a while back.
In 1991, we have an interesting little document. This is a handwritten note from Steve, which is basically authorizing his brother Tim to be his power of attorney to take care of Steve's real estate interests in Alabama, since he's in the circuit work at this time. And we can see from the document here, Steve was evidently in Onslow County, North Carolina, in the circuit work. Onslow County is a little north of Myrtle Beach. And just a little random incidental note here, you'll notice that the signature has the exact same handwriting as you can see in the Witnesses documentary, which has a shot of Steve's signature on that letter to Tim Mannion about the child abuse issue. So Steve needed to fill out this POA document because, as it turned out, the developer that had bought that main beach property that the Letts had created actually went belly up before they paid the Letts too much money, of what they owed. So at that point, Mark had originally sold the property, Mark Lett Sr., but he's died by now. And so the beneficiaries of Mark Lett's estate, which were now 3 people, Gene, Tim, and Steve, they basically got the property back, and in 1994 they started over. And so they hooked up with a new developer for the property, and again, kind of the same deal. They sold the property for $900,000 again, and this developer had his stuff together. So by October 94, the condos were built on the property and were being sold to buyers down there. So it was called the Moonraker condos. And actually it's there today. So I guess if you wanted to take a vacation, you could head down to Gulf Shores, Alabama and stay in one of them. You could even buy a condo unit if you felt like it. And it exists all due to the Letts, which is kind of interesting.
That his family is in real estate. Tell me they're not into money. So, this is just very hypocritical of the governing body when so many of average Jehovah's Witnesses, pioneers, and the average person is struggling in this economy just to make a living. And then these guys, these sanctimonious jerks, have the nerve to say it's materialism? Yeah, I'm going to repeat what Mikey said in his last video. Go kiss the sun. We'll tell the truth. Now, I want to thank Mr. Tanaka for his tweets, and he's posted a link to an article in English, and I will put the link to his tweet here, and I will read this article, and I'll put the link to it below. It is from the NHK World Japan. Lawyers for former Jehovah's Witnesses followers allege child abuse practices. A team of lawyers lodged a complaint with Japan's health ministry in Tokyo on Monday against the teachings of the Jehovah's Witness religious group. The complaint said the group's practices, such as declining blood transfusions for their children, could amount to child abuse. Yeah. The lawyers provide legal assistance to former followers of the group as well as to the children of group members. About 100 people said in interviews with the team that they had been instructed by senior members of the religious group to refuse blood transfusions for their children. See, it's coming back. Karma's coming back on them. Others said they were whipped by their Jehovah's Witness parents while growing up. Yeah, and it went beyond whipping. I was thrown against furniture and everything else. Cracked ribs, you name it. The lawyers say such practices may constitute child abuse. It does. It does. Monday's action comes as the health ministry in December issued guidelines to municipalities stating that denying children necessary medical treatment, including blood transfusion, is neglect, a form of abuse. The guidelines also state that resorting to such punishment as whipping a child constitutes physical abuse. It does, and I can agree to that. One of the lawyers, Tanaka Kotaro, noted that the team was able to hold meaningful discussions with ministry officials as the two sides confirmed the need for cooperation in dealing with the problems. The ministry has expressed its readiness to discuss what action should be taken after scrutinizing the submitted report. Jehovah's Witnesses maintain that the claims run counter to the facts. Yeah. You ask every single one of us ex-members, and we will agree with this team of lawyers that is going and talking to the Japan ministry. Jehovah's Witnesses Watchtower is lying. They're lying. Just like Jeffrey Jackson lied in the Australian Royal Commission about corporal punishment.
You've got the Bible there. If you go to 1 Timothy chapter 3,
yes,
verse 4, there's a discussion of a man presiding over his household, having his children in subjection. Now, what does that mean?
That's a very good question, Your Honour. Biblically speaking, the word subjection infers respect and a willingness to comply with direction. It does not...
Your Bible then provides a reference back to Ephesians chapter 6, verse 4.
That is correct.
Which imposes the obligation on fathers to bring their children up in the discipline and admonition of Jehovah. What's the discipline of Jehovah?
So, Your Honour, the original language word, that discipline, it indicates a process of teaching, educating, making a disciple.
Well, from that reference in Ephesians, your Bible takes us back to Proverbs chapter 13, verse 24.
Proverbs 13:24, yes.
And the exact quote is, "Whoever holds back his rod hates his son." What does that mean?
So, Your Honour, you'll notice there's an asterisk there on the term rod, and you see the footnote?
Yeah.
Discipline or punishment. So, in the application of this, the term rod is used as a symbol or a metaphor to indicate the authority to give some punishment. For example, in a modern day setting, my father could say to me, I don't go to the movies because I had broken some of the rules of the home.
So it's not about inflicting corporal punishment then?
It absolutely is not about inflicting corporal punishment.
It would have been when first written, wouldn't it?
How people applied it back then at that time, of course, is open to question.
Well, what you're telling me, as I understand it, is that your religion, your church, is prepared to interpret the Bible having regard to contemporary social attitudes and standards. Is that right?
Obviously, Your Honour, we need to take that into consideration, but the primary responsibility we have is to think, what does Jehovah God mean by this? And we look at other scriptures. One of the problems that many folk have when they read the Bible is they take one verse and they assume it means something out of context or not in reference to other scriptures. So for our understanding, Jehovah has said that children should be raised in a loving environment. Jesus was raised in such an environment.
Well, I've taken you to the way your own church constructs the biblical references, which, as we've noticed, takes us back to Proverbs. Correct?
That is correct.
But what you've given us is the understanding which your church now has about how that's to apply in contemporary society. Is that right?
That's a good question. Obviously, I can only speak about what we understand this to mean now, but I would argue the case that even back in ancient times, God did not have in mind for children to be beaten up in a bad way.
Though you give proper instruction and set the proper example, children just refuse to obey. That brings us to the subject of discipline. and forces the facing of that hotly controversial question, to spank or not to spank. Many child psychologists put a hands-off sign on children, as did one who said, "Every time you spank your child, you show that you're hating your child." Jehovah says, "He who spares the rod hates his son, but he who loves him is diligent to discipline him." A spanking may be a lifesaver to a child, for Jehovah says, "Do not withhold discipline from a child. If you beat him with a rod, he will not die. If you beat him with the rod, you will save his life from Sheol." Again, blows that wound cleanse away evil. Strokes make clean the innermost parts. It is Jehovah who can peer into the innermost parts of men and children. And at one time, typical of our day, he did this and saw, "The inclination of the heart of man is bad from his youth up." The remedy? Folly is bound up in the heart of a child, but the rod of discipline drives it far from him. With some children, occasions arise when words fall short, and parents may have to become men and women of action, applying the rod to preserve the child from spoiling. But regarding the use of the rod, the literal rod, recently in the face of mounting juvenile delinquency, many child psychologists are doing an about-face on spanking, many swinging back to the rod idea. Many have been forced to admit that the lessons learned at mother's knee do not make as lasting an impression as those learned while stretched across daddy's. A hairbrush may speak louder than words. A hairbrush has been found versatile, having use from top to bottom. The front for unruly hair, the back for unruly conduct. Some say children should learn that those who sow wild oats must expect a time of threshing.
Jehovah's Witnesses said it is heartbreaking that a wrong conclusion has been reached based on distorted reports from only those critical of the group. You hear that? Distorted reports. They say they do not approve of blood transfusions for religious reasons. The group maintains that medical decisions are made by individuals and their families and should be made after sufficient discussion. Oh my God, they are such liars. No. The hospital liaison Gestapo team comes in and makes sure parents do not give their kids a blood transfusion. We all know it. It's right in the hospital liaison documents. Oh boy, I just get so sick of their lying. You know, Watchtower? Karma's coming back on you for all of your lying and your deceit. You all have a wonderful day. Bye.